Hey there everyone, my name is Brendan and welcome back to the Crypto Analyst channel. And we got a lot to talk about in today's video because Bitcoin has approached its last major resistance level before all-time highs. Ethereum is trying to break $3,000 and Uniswap just released some major news, and as you can see from the chart in front of me here, it is on an absolute tear. So just a few days ago, this thing was sitting at $7, and from the top of this candle, it went from 7 up to 12.5 bucks, seemingly over the course of like a few hours here. So there's a lot of news that I want to talk about, but also a lot on the charts. So if that does interest you, all that we ask over here is that you consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you really like the content, check out some of the links in the description down below because we got a really cool community that you all can get plugged into. So let's kick things off with Bitcoin first. What in the world is happening with Bitcoin? And what do I mean that Bitcoin is very quickly approaching its last major resistance level before all-time highs? Because I know that is a bold claim, but let me just show you kind of what I'm looking at over here because it is pretty convincing. So we blew right through 48,000, 49,000. And if you remember, we talked about this being a previous swing high. Now, this is a metric that we've used for a long time now to measure where the main resistance level of Bitcoin is likely to be. And it's worked pretty well. I mean, we even look all the way back down here. We can see that this was a major resistance level. Bitcoin broke it. And then it essentially just works its way from one previous high to the next one that's higher up on the list. Well, now we've approached the last one on that list being $52,000. So I only really see three major resistance levels on Bitcoin moving forward. The first one is the one that we're at right now, $52,000. This is the last major swing high, the last previous swing high on Bitcoin's chart. The second one would be pretty much the bottom of where Bitcoin found its all-time high at. So this is the bottom range of where Bitcoin found some support when it did hit the previous all-time high, and that's going to be right around 60K, because you can see that this acted as support for about 3 weeks and then as resistance for about 2 weeks. So I see a little bit of resistance right here around 60K, and then beyond this, we have the big $68,000 to $69,000 zone, which is the previous all-time high up here. Depending on what exchange you're looking at. It's going to vary just a little bit, but it's going to be right around $68,000 to $69,000, generally speaking. So to kind of recap that really fast, I see three major resistance levels. The first one being our last previous swing high. It's a bit of a tongue twister at 52K. Then we have a previous support zone at 60K. And then we have the previous all-time high at around $68,000 to $69,000. Now, with this being said, I'm going to move us back to a daily chart because as we look at the current state of Bitcoin, we can see that it's struggling at this resistance, which is to be expected, right? It's named the resistance for a reason. So with Bitcoin kind of working its way up here, we've seen pretty much since around February 14th all the way up into the current day, which has been, around 9 different daily closings, all rejecting this level. And we can see that we're holding on to a nice little support around $50,500. However, this is very possible that this thing could break and we actually see Bitcoin retrace back down a little bit. And I don't think that that's a super bearish thing for Bitcoin. I think that it's natural that we reject a major resistance level. We see some actual and literal resistance there. And then we fall back down to a lower price, accumulate a bunch of buyers, and then break this thing. So let me just go ahead and state, I don't think that this is going to be like the long-term top of Bitcoin. I don't think that we're going to see like new lows below like 20K or 15K or anything like that. However, I do think it's possible that we reject this level a little bit, find some support a little bit lower down, probably somewhere in the 40s, and then resume the move back up to the upside. So just, I guess that's my like quick thoughts on the matter. Now, obviously the bulls have been super strong. It's possible that we don't break this level, but I think if we do break around the 50K area, again, it's very likely that we come back to the top of this previous resistance range, which is a little bit closer to like the mid to upper 40,000. So I'm not counting that out of the books yet. And I am looking kind of at this area as a potential buying opportunity for myself. Now, when the news is going around over here, I kind of want to run through some of these articles, but there's a lot of things saying, hey, do you feel the shift of what's going on? And then on top of all these articles being like, hey, there's a big shift taking place, there's other articles like these ones that's like, hey, Ethereum is hitting new highs. It's hitting these big resistance levels of 30K. Uniswap, which we looked at at the beginning, is up 60% upon a proposal to actually reward the users of the network. Now, this has been talked about for a long time. People have been dying to get this on Uniswap. And it was pretty speculated that if they ever added some sort of profit sharing mechanism, that it would be massively beneficial to the token price. Well, that's exactly what we're kind of seeing right now. So let's run through Ethereum first, because that was the first one that we looked at. And then we're going to work our way over to Uniswap. So if we look at Ethereum, this is that $3,000 zone that we were talking about. Now, Ethereum's lagging a little bit behind Bitcoin, because if we look at the previous swing high, really the last major previous swing high for Ethereum, while Bitcoin is currently testing that zone, Ethereum is not. That's a little bit closer to like 3,600, which means that Ethereum would have to move another 20% to the upside just to kind of catch back up to where Bitcoin is, roughly speaking. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because if we look at something like ETH BTC, then we can see that Ethereum dominance in comparison to Bitcoin is actually back on the rise over here. So if this trend continues, then that's not too much of like a stretch to say that something like that is possible, which is something that I've been keeping an eye on. And also, if we take a look at like Bitcoin dominance, for example, we can see that Bitcoin dominance has actually started to fall over here for the third lower swing high over the course of the last 2 to 3 months. Which is a pretty big sign, because Bitcoin dominance, if we zoom out, has been on a massive uptrend for over a year now. So there's a lot of stats and information that we can look at over here to kind of get a general idea of what is possible and what direction things are going. And then, of course, the last one that I want to talk about before I let all of you go is just briefly what's happening over here with Uniswap in terms of price. This thing is soaring. And so it's great. And so this is one of those areas where I think it's going to be a very beneficial thing for the long term of Uniswap. I don't think it's just going to be a short term benefit here. It's not just like a pump and dump, because ultimately this will encourage more people to hold the Uni token, which will, probably bring in a bigger demand for buyers. And there's a lot of different ways to look at this one. So it's a token that I think should start to come on people's radars, especially on the dips. I'm not saying that we need to kind of chase this kind of run, and I'm never given legal, financial, or tax advice in any kind of way. So, not financial advice, but this is one of those ones that I'm looking at, and pretty interested to see how this affects the future, because if Uniswap was able to get up to like $44 without any kind of profit sharing mechanism, well, what does that make the potential top with a profit sharing mechanism? Because that is likely to entice more people to kind of come in and collect the token. So just some food for thought there from my perspective. But there's a lot going on in the great world of crypto over here. I hope all of you are enjoying the runs that are happening so far. Cryptos are popping off left and right. When we look at even like the AI space, you look at FET, you look at AGIX, these things are just going borderline parabolic at the moment, and people are making a lot of profits off these, which is great to see, and we are loving it. So I hope all of you did enjoy this video. As I said at the beginning, all that we ask here is that if you did like it, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And of course, check out the links in the description down below. You can check us out over at Altcoin Alert as well as Crypt Nation, which are two communities that we got. So if you want to get more plugged into crypto, those are going to be the places to do it. So thank you all for watching, and we will see all of you in the next video.